So I had a professor that had done some research on job satisfactions for planners, and he discovered that planners at a local level had a much higher level of job satisfaction than planners at a state or federal level. And I took that to heart, and I found the most local type of planning job I could find, which was as a community planner for the City of Baltimore Planning Department. And that was one of the wisest decisions I ever made. Um, so, so being a community planner, you're getting to work with people in their own neighborhood on things they care about in their own neighborhood. It's almost like working with somebody in their own house. Well, I have had two different community planning jobs in Baltimore, one in Southeast Baltimore and one in Southwest Baltimore. In Southeast Baltimore, it was an older ethnic neighborhood that was faced with a lot of new development along its waterfront that made them very uneasy. Um, and they couldn't relate to the new developments. So, working with an architect in the department, we broke down the scale of the redevelopment and connected it to the existing neighborhood through public access corridors, parks, and what's now called the Baltimore Waterfront Promenade. That greatly lowered the anxiety of that community towards the new development. In Southwest Baltimore, we did something very differently, working with a group of landscape architecture students at Morgan University. We conceived of a trail that linked dozens of neighborhoods in West and Southwest Baltimore with each other, with park facilities, with recreation facilities, and ultimately the inner harbor. That study came along just as the federal government created a new alternative transportation funding program. And over the next 5 to 10 years, the city of Baltimore invested over $15 million in the Gwynns Falls Trail that implemented that study. I learned a lot about neighborhood dynamics from inside neighborhoods, who respected who and why, how decisions were made, how residents managed their neighborhood, as well as what they couldn't manage, things that they needed help with. So I learned how economics and money impact neighborhoods and drive a lot of decisions. Finally, I also learned how to manage an organization that could address the issues that the residents were bringing up. You had to identify resources, you had to identify partnerships, you had to find the right people and put them in the right place to address the issues that the residents were bringing up. The participation of the top leadership of the city and the coordination among the city agencies with the community partners is incredibly impactful. So the most successful collaboration, a game changer, a major accomplishment was the creation of the neighborhood subcabinet. The neighborhood subcabinet is chaired by the mayor, the CA and the deputy mayor for community and economic development participate, and all the agencies that impact a neighborhood, as well as the community partners working in the neighborhood, all sit around twice a year in the city stat room to document and track their progress to revitalizing that neighborhood. That has been the single most effective tool that the city of Baltimore has. And I'm really proud of the way the Department of Planning and its community planners supports the Department of Housing and Community Development and its community development agenda. I took the job because of my interest in standing up the city's community development strategy. But I soon learned that we could not be successful with the tiny amount of resources we had in the capital budget. Hopefully, in the past year, we have begun to address that. I'm also proud of how the department handled the ransomware attack and the pandemic, which have dominated the last 5 years of this department. It never stopped functioning and, in fact, played an incredibly important role with food insecurity during the pandemic. Finally, the department has undergone an incredible turnover during the last 5 years, three-quarters of the staff, but we have been extremely successful in attracting an incredibly diverse and talented group of planners to the department. We've also made great strides towards recruiting local talent into the department through partnerships with local universities and even high schools. So first, I want to thank my predecessor for obtaining the services of Deputy Director Stephanie Smith, who I believe is a national leader in equity and planning work and an important thought partner for this department. Well, one of the first things Deputy Director Stephanie Smith initiated was the Planning Academy, the Baltimore Planning Academy. This is one of the first in the country, if not the first in the country, and it deliberately focused on residents that had not been traditionally engaged with the Department of Planning. That Planning Academy is now 5 years old. We have had multiple classes every year, and we have hundreds of alumni. Those alumni now help to guide all of our work. Over 400 residents are now participating in various planning department initiatives, whether it be food policy advisors, the comprehensive planning effort, or the day-to-day zoning and land use decisions of the department. The comprehensive plan is a state mandated planning process that occurs after every census. We have approximately 2.5 years from the date of when the data from the census returns to complete the plan, but it's supposed to set out a, a guideline for the development of the city over the next 10 years. The single largest challenge and opportunity for continuing to advance equity in planning within Baltimore is to break down the zoning restrictions for single family zoning that keep out lower income residents from over 40% of the land area of the city. So this is a really big deal, but it brings the department into the 21st century. We can stop playing games with land use and zoning processes and be intentional in the way we create the city we want to have. It also has the potential to address the historic wrongs that the planning profession has been part of. So the Planning Commission has been very clear on this point, and I totally agree with them. The city needs to grow to thrive, and the next director needs to be able to articulate that growth strategy. In many ways, we've been focused on a retention strategy, keeping existing residents involved and happy with the direction of the city. This has been a critical focus of our equity work, but we can't grow the city if we can't keep our existing residents, but we must learn how to attract new residents. Neighbors sell neighborhoods is an old saying in community development. But Central Maryland has become one of the densest and most prosperous areas of the country. It's an ideal place to grow responsibly while maintaining a high quality of life. We need to articulate a strategy that appeals to our young people and young people everywhere. While that means a high quality of life, it also means a high level of opportunity. I would suggest to the new director that they use the full resources of the professor of the profession across the country and outside the country to identify opportunities that will appeal to the next generation of residents. Our planners are in the future business, and the city needs our help to help chart its future.